Welcome to the Amen Podcast, where all men from all walks of life, backgrounds, and ages can obtain the tools on how to become alpha men from a Christ-centered perspective in today's society. Here's your host, Jimmy Greer.
All right, guys. You pulled off the side of the road. You basically done your two shakes. You're back in the car now. We're back with Joe Perry. We've had our bathroom break, our water break. So we were talking about embracing the suck. So Joe threw this at me during the break. You guys didn't hear. We had some crazy conversations that were so funny. We talked about everything from the lottery. It's just
lighting Doritos on fire.
Yes, lighting Doritos on fire. It's a real thing, and Fritos as well. Just all kinds of crazy fun topics. But let's get back to embracing the suck. So with that term out there, this is what cracks me up because unfortunately, it's been kind of dumbed down, right, in our society. So men today get really beat up for their masculinity. They really do, because we're supposed to be dumbed down and nullified as to be a strong masculine man or male in today's society. It's not healthy in a lot of people's opinions. My buddy, guy you've listened to before, Cole, I was talking to him one time and I asked him, I said, so you being a ranger, that's a tier 2 operating class of warfighter. And so you have to have a very specific group of people that will even apply for that will accomplish that, and actually will move on and go into a warfighting group. He said to me that they were having difficulty finding a selection process of people that could even pass their entry-level process for those schools, because of the lack of mental grit in today's generation of men.
It's unfortunate, but I think on the bright side, two of the guys that you and I work out with, Ethan and Kyle.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think Ethan goes in 2 weeks,
and is he Green Beret?
Rangers.
Rangers. He's going Ranger school, and
Kyle goes on. I want to say 6 months.
Yeah, and Kyle is going in as Green Beret, correct?
I believe so.
Yes. There's a third one in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Nate? No, it's not Nate. It's Justin.
I think Justin is going into the Air Force.
He's going to the Air Force, yeah. But he doesn't know what he's selected yet as far as like what job he wants to do. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. But okay. I mean, to your point, it's really sad. But then, one of my best friends from growing up, since his name's Shannon. Shannon and I were 8 years old. Mm-hmm. His son Elijah is in boot camp for the Army, literally as we're having this conversation.
Okay.
So there are people out there that are actively working towards it. And it's unfortunate to hear what Cole had to say, but you and I on the pre-enlistment side of the fence, we actually get to see the guys and gals training for it.
The grind.
Mm-hmm. So there are people out there that are grinding.
There are, but they're few and far between. But it's great that we have the access that we do to a coach, a gym, a process, that we can take part of some of those aspects of that training. Mm-hmm. Obviously not at their level, right?
No, but it's, I know as you and I are both gasping for breath, after whatever it might be, but it's with anything in life, is you surround yourself with people that are better than you are, at whatever the thing might be, and just trying to keep up, you and I get better.
Right.
And it's spiritually, it's physically, it's, in your professional life, it's all of those things. So let me back up. My dad said something to me probably 100 times a week. I'm not exaggerating, growing up. And he said, you are who you associate with.
So true.
Yep. And even fast forward all these years later, like it still is in my mind, the friends and the people that are around me and my wife, is you are who you associate with.
Pastor Rick told me dirty car, dirty life in regards to discipline. Mm-hmm. Look in somebody's car and you'll see what's in their life. Their lack of discipline, right? And I was
That's good. I like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I don't look in the car for judgment.
Hey, you gotta get rid of those Doritos.
Yeah. No, those are survival, man. Those are very important piece of surviving of tool sets that I have. Insane, but I think embracing the suck, has been kind of like memorialized in a sense in our movie culture because we obviously came out of a 20-year war in the Middle East and multiple countries over there, and so a lot of movies came out. Some were entertaining and some were factual. Some were somewhat factual and a majority of entertaining. But the real aspect is and I always attribute this to is insane. So have you seen Lone Survivor?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Lone Survivor for me being a non-military serviceman who's put himself through a process like that. So I've watched that movie so many different times, but I think there's 3 different occasions that they fall off of like 50, 60 foot drops. And I'm probably not even saying that even really close to what the markers were of what they were falling off, like they had time to get out and do a measuring stick. But I thought about it and I did the bullet count. And so at that point, each man had a minimum of 2 to 3 rounds shot into them at this point. They're operating at high elevation. So and when I say high elevation, you're at close to alpine level or above. Mm-hmm. So means there's nothing growing above certain elevation, right? No water and no food. And they're still operating in the highest possible gear, high stress. And these guys, after being shot, they jump off the first ledge, right? And they eat crap in the most horrific way that anybody could imagine in a situation. And I was just thinking about this, and I was like, they look up and they all kind of collectively come back together, and one of them says, "Man, that really sucked." And I said to myself, okay, I would have been saying it sucked at I'm shot twice, or leading up to that, I'm out of food and out of water and probably cramping up, but who cares because I'm fighting for my life and my brothers, right? So you get shot and you're dealing with that mental game by itself, and then you jump off the cliff and completely eat crap, break stuff. You still got your weapons, thank God. And you're still fighting this force of 100 to 200 men that are coming after your lives, right? And you look up at the rock and you go, "Man, that really sucked." To me, that blew me out of the water. I was like, that's an insane mindset. That's nuts. Who says that? That doesn't suck. That's like beyond suck. That's like 2 more levels down below suck. That's insane, right? But for these guys, it's a Monday. It's Tuesday.
Discipline.
Because they operate in chaos. That's what they're used to. High stress levels, fast movements, fast targeting, fast shooting, right? So for me, embracing the suck from that day forward really told me I can do more in my mindset.
So how, in watching you maybe physically hit a wall on certain things, so how do you mentally do in that moment?
So for me, I call it the pain box. Some people refer to that, what that is. For me, I'll paint the pain box as this: it's a very dark place, and it is 1,000% mental, and you literally have to go in and shut off your mind and say, "I know that I'm hurting. I know that I have nothing left, but I'm going to ignore it." Right? So going into that really dark place to find out who you are as a man, as a leader, as an alpha, I think that that's what stirs the pot and mixes the recipe to make you aware of what you're capable of. And I mean in every area. I mean in the area of violence, if needed, if it calls for it. Someone recently said, I don't know if it was Jordan Peterson or not, but someone recently—
I love that guy.
He's a pretty smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's an understatement, but he's a pretty smart guy. And he said that, you as a father, you as a leader should be capable of violence, but it is the discipline of the man that knows how to harness his emotions. And I was like, dude, that's so good. That's so good. So I have the capability of violence, but it doesn't mean that— it means that I'm able to holster that. Mm-hmm. If I have to use it, I absolutely have the capability of doing that. But it also means that when I do something physically challenging, that I can unlock another gear. I always tell people, find that other gear. Mm-hmm. If you can find that other gear, this is the time to put it in, right? I think that that's that dark place that you go to switch it off. But that's what I got about that. That's what I think for me is embracing the suck, is knowing that you're in a lot of pain and you know that you're out of the resources that you normally count on, that you put in your body, whether it's water, whether it's mustard, decramping, liquids that you can put in your gels, you can goos, you can put in your body.
Well, one of the things I'm really proud of you is Big Jim never quits. Quit is not in your vocabulary. And I've seen in some of our things together, even if it's a short time interval for whatever it is, that quitting is not an option.
No, it's not. But I will say this, though. In that dead ball, I literally gave everything that I had. But this is not excuse, guys. This is the reality. I was unaware of how difficult this challenge was going to be. I knew that going in, but I didn't know how difficult it was going to be. DECA, the first event ever that I've done, I did it to test it out, to find out what it was going to be about, because I knew I wasn't going to do, tremendously great at it. I wanted to learn it so I could learn the hacks of how to be more efficient in it, right? Become a student of it, just like anything else. But when I got to the dead ball and I was done, I know that I gave everything that I had, and I knew I had a few more intervals to get through. If I didn't stop then, I was not going to make it to that, because I knew I had to finish, because I wasn't going to quit. Mm-hmm. So tagged out, WWF style, bam, I got to hit this, and you took that for me. But I appreciate that, man, because I used to quit, believe it or not. I can admit that. When I was 270 pounds, I quit. When I looked at my doctor and she said that, you're pre-diabetic and pre-heart attack, I quit. And I quit on myself. I quit on my ability, my accountability. I quit in some areas of my life. And I was quickly reminded of how important it is not to quit and not to be complacent, because it was killing me.
What was the moment that turned it around?
The appointment with the doctor. And got, high-end Apex operators, no matter what tier you're in, they have a common saying is that, they have a 3-foot window that they always operate in. It's this, and this. It's here, here, here. That's their scope. And the scope that I had at the time was much broader. Didn't mean that it meant that I wasn't focused, right? So then I shrunk my 3-foot window and said, okay, I need to focus on this. 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 And my family needed me to be there at that time. My kids were watching. My wife was watching. My wife then, now ex-wife, was watching. And so, and then what happened was, this is what the funny part about it, Joe, is that there was, I don't want to say a group of people, but those people saw me go through that process of starting at 270 pounds and slowly just depleting myself, to all the way down to 200.
Man.
In about a year and a half. And there was no surgeries, no magic pills, nothing like that. Just hard
work,
grinding it out every single chance and opportunity, and becoming a student of it was what it was. At least that's what it was for me. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. And then I started to see these results, and these people were like, dude, I didn't even recognize you. And I was like, I know, I don't even recognize myself either. I think that the moment, though, was when, and I tell this story I may have said this on my my first show first recording was with Paul, with their coach. And it was when I did my first Spartan event. And it was the hardest course that one of the top 3 hardest courses in Spartan's arsenal of courses to do. And it was Big Bear down south in the LA area. And it's a short course. It was a sprint, so it's only like, 5K. Mm-hmm. And it's like probably like maybe 15 to 18 obstacles, somewhere around there is what it was at the time. And I trained for 8 months, and I said, I want to see what I'm going to do when I do this event. I can only tell you this. That quote that I gave you earlier is basically embracing the suck, and you'll know who you are when you come out of that. Mm-hmm. I went up the mountain one way, and I came down it another, is the best way that I can describe that.
So that was your crucible
of life, not just that moment, but it was my crucible. That's where everything changed around for me mentally, because I realized what I could do. And I realized I was like, hey, I'm not, not where I want to be, but I did okay. I didn't quit. I didn't stop. I had to do 2 sets of burpees, so I had 60 burpees in total. That sucked. It was at the end. Yeah, I can admit that. Totally admit that. So that was in competitive, right? And so I had 4 obstacles left. And in that 4 obstacles, I had to do burpees. I think they probably took me like, I don't know, probably 4 to 5 minutes each time. I was literally dying. I was dead. I had nothing left. And then I had to do this rope climb, and it's pretty high rope, I mean, now it's not, it's not anything to, shout about, but then it was insane. And then I had the tire flip. So, again, discipline, strategizing, being efficient, with what you're challenging yourself with. And I did my burpees. And then I had to go under the mud wall. Then I had to go to the rig. So you're wet and muddy. Then you have to go to rig where everybody comes and puts their slimy, slippery hands on. And I didn't fall, so that was good. And then from there, you go under the barbed wire. And I got emotional at the end, man, when I finished. I was just like, I cannot believe I did that. I cannot believe I accomplished something that physically challenging. I didn't think I was going to make it. I was like, dude, this is insane. Right? You start off at 7,000 feet, ascend like 2,500 feet, up the mountain, then come back down. It was nuts. But that definitely was my crucible of life. That's what it was. That's when I found out where my grit stood in my life and where I wanted to be after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. For me, it's the compliment show here, is that knowing what Joe is challenged with physically and shows up every single day to work out the hardest that he can to improve himself. I mean, for me, understanding what you have to go through and accomplish to do what you're doing, to me, it's insane, man. It's impressive to see that, because I know that your lungs.
Are you ready to become the strongest version of yourself, Alpha Men? Meet Paul Watson, a military veteran. Paul knows the importance of physical fitness, mental and physical toughness, and the role it plays in one's overall health and well-being. That's why I'm proud to recommend Warrior Fitness, a fitness program designed to help you become the strongest version of yourself. Whether you're looking for elite military selection training, including endurance and strength training, group classes, individualized training, and personalized diet plan development, we're here to help you achieve your fitness goals. Our experienced trainers understand the value of hard work and perseverance, and they will work with you to push your limits and achieve new heights. Join our community of warriors and take on a new challenge that will help you to build strength, increase your endurance, and improve your overall health. With Warrior Fitness, you'll discover a new sense of discipline, resilience, and pride. Sign up today and let's take on the challenge together. Check them out at their Fresno location at 8039 North Cedar Avenue, Fresno, California, 93720, or on the web on Instagram and Facebook, or if you want to just give them a call, go ahead, 559-242-2570. Stay alpha.
You struggle, and you make your noises, and you're like, I know you're breathing. I know he's like
good voices.
You do, and it's like breathing hard, and he's just trying to gasp for air, and never have I ever seen in your face, I'm done.
Mm-mm.
I've never seen it.
Mm-mm.
Not that I'm looking for it, but I've never seen it. You know when a guy's done.
Oh yeah, no, I've never. Not that I it's impossible, but no, I've never quit. I might get really slow, but I don't stop.
You don't stop.
Mm-mm.
That's the key word, is you don't stop. So embracing the suck. So for you, what does embracing the suck look like for you?
Well, that's I think I shared shared building. Like
Yeah.
I know when things are awful.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it as it's awful,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't hate it. I don't I don't get negative about it.
Yeah.
Because I know once it's over, it's gonna, whatever that thing is, whether it's professional stuff or
Yeah.
maybe some relationship challenges,
Mm-hmm.
with friends or whatever it is. Like I know at the end, I'm gonna be a better person for it. So embracing the suck, it's like I'm learning the lesson, and I know I'm learning the lesson.
Did you read any books that that improved your mental grit? Is there anything that you can recall on that you say, hey, this kind of sparked something in me?
I've been, not recently.
No. Let's just say in your journey.
I don't know about, I am a prolific reader, but I don't know books per se. I would say I listened to the last 2 years straight Bible in a Year podcast.
Okay.
And there's, the Bible is full of stories that, even though it's something that most of my life I've grown up with or been exposed to.
Sure.
It wasn't until I'd read some of these stories about challenges that some of the saints had that I don't know that I appreciated it when I read it. So in terms of wisdom and
Endurance.
it's that Bible in a Year for me has been, I've every day. It's part of my routine, and it's really special.
Dude, that's solid. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, my day will start just a hair bit different than yours. So normally for me, like, it's breakfast, and then I pop out my Bible and just really sit down, because everybody does it different, right? But I'm just kind of like, Lord, what do you want to show me today? And this is a crazy prayer, but I'll just say, show me something that I've never seen before, even though I may have read it before, right?
That's good.
I want to see something different than what I've seen before, right? And every single time, go to this chapter, start here. And I'll start milling around in a specific, book and chapter, and then I'll discover something along the way, and might do like a word study on specific words that are within this chapter. What is the writer saying? What's the author of this book saying? And I think you and I were having a discussion. It was a little while back, and we were talking about how the disciples were crucified in each different way that they were. Do you remember that?
I do. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to talk about like embracing the suck, I mean, that's literally like the ultimate way. No, they weren't shot with bullets. They didn't die for a country. They died for Christ. They died for the cause of Christ. Men die honorably for the cause of our country and our freedom, right? Mm-hmm. Our rights. But Jesus died for a right to be saved, to be free of sin, to be strong through him and in him. So when I think of the disciples and what the first 12, what they went through, insane. I mean, they're always on the road. They're always hiking. There was no Ubers. There was no Lyfts. There was no Humvees. There was no, let's get on a bike and go down the road. It's like, hey, I want you guys to go out 2 by 2 and I want you to go and spread the gospel, right? Don't take anything. Don't even take a coat. Don't take a night bag. Don't take your backpack. Everything will be provided for you.
Life of trust.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So and that's foreign to to an operator, because operator is very skilled in planning. They pack their gear according to what the mission's going to be, right? What the mission intent is, what they're going to accomplish, what their goal is. And the mission, the intent of the mission was, I want to see what Christ has for us in this. Like, that was the end goal, right? And I think that sleeping out, in dangerous places, they didn't know if they would be murdered, because there was, there are dangerous places where they were traveling that they could have been knifed, cut up with a sword, short sword, whatever. And he took care of them. Was it easy? Was it safe? Was it, because modern day Christians think that God just keeps you from everything. I don't agree with that.
Nope. Never said it would be easy.
No. My life hasn't been easy. Has your life been easy?
No, there's been lots of challenges. But going back to real quick on structure and day is, and you're touching on routine is every morning being thankful and saying in your prayers for your family, for your friends, to give God today. And to vocalize it, I think is huge, and also to live a life with gratitude, thankful for the things that you've been granted and for the people that are around you. It changes perspective when you say that you're thankful and you believe it. Like, I'm thankful for you. I'm having a blast, hanging out here and talking about it and vocalizing things that are bouncing around in my head. So I think actively thanking God for what you've been granted is a must.
I have a prayer that I say, and it's basically, I'm thankful, Lord, for the things that I have and that you've given me, and I'm standing in faith for the things that I don't have.
I like it.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm good where I'm at, but it doesn't mean that I don't want better. And it doesn't mean that I'm not speaking like materialistic things, or I'm just saying an improvement level in life in general is what I'm talking about, I
think another good one is praying for those who are less fortunate, but also people that don't have anyone to pray for them. That's a part of my daily prayers.
Interceding in the gap for those that don't have, those that are not standing in the gap for them. That's good. Mm-hmm. How do you think that impacts your leadership in home? And this is the reason why I ask this question, is because if we believe that everything successful starts and ends with the leader in the home, right? That alpha male. How does that impact you in your marriage?
Well, Cookie and I have the same outlook and perspective and faith. And we also have, it's a partnership. It's not, I don't tell her what to do or anything. We're equal, and we're open and transparent, and our energy just kind of feeds off of each other. But but being, I'm also set on the things that, to answer being a leader, you need to know what your belief system is.
Right.
And I know it starts with God.
Yep.
And then it goes to my wife.
Right.
And then it goes to my family.
Right.
And so having those priorities is a huge part, or foundation of being a leader. There's no wishy-washiness in the day.
Do you think that you can train one of those areas and neglect the others and expect to see success?
No.
So why do you think, in your opinion, that men think that they can work out their spiritual? Because some guys do this a lot. I'll see a lot of pastors do this, and I'm not hating. I love my brothers. I love my senior pastors, my pastors in general. But I see pastors they're giants when it comes to spiritual walk. But physical, they're like, I'm good. I'm all right. Mental and physical are very closely tied. They're kind of like brothers,
Also, the whole mental, spiritual, physical.
Yeah,
right.
It's all tied in together. But I think that the missing block is, the missing piece that is the thought process that says I can train one area and still be successful in all three. But we both know if you train only your left leg, your right leg is going to suffer. It's going to become atrophied, right? So if that's the case, how does one combat that?
You earmark time specifically for those things. Like and God is not just for Sunday.
Right.
God's for every day.
Right.
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 And making time for that.
Right. So is that mindset?
His mindset, and it's priorities. If God's number one in your life, is going to be there every day. It's not just one day.
What would you say the next two steps where you do? Do you go mental, physical, physical, mental? What do you think it is for you?
For me, it's, oh man, that's such a good question. I think they're the same.
Do you?
It feeds for me, my mental and physical kind of feed off of each other.
Okay.
Once my 3-2-1 in the morning, get my feet on the floor, that's a mental thing. But then as soon as I'm rolling, then that's, my physical, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm accomplishing something, I'm back to my mental gear. What about you?
The reason why I asked that in a series of questions is, the Bible talks about renewing the mind. It doesn't say renewing the body. It says renewing the mind. The reason why is the mind tells the body what to do, right? That means our flesh, our desires, our weaknesses that we have as men, as human beings, we have to renew that in Christ on a daily basis by talking to Him and saying, Lord, I don't have this figured out. I need you to help me out with this, right? Then we get into the actual application of that process and say, now I'm going to tell my body what to do. It's going to be uncomfortable because it's going to fight against what I want to do, right? Because rather it's, for some guys, I know it's like always the go-to, but it's always like, porn addictions. Some guys it might be money. Some guys it might be work. They love the power of work and being, over people, right? For some people it might be, alcohol or drug addiction. You just don't, you don't know what that weakness is that different people struggle with. But when I renew my mind, what I'm saying is I'm recognizing, God, I don't have it figured out, but I know the one that does. And so if I engage Him, He's going to help me to renew my mind, then ultimately renew my body. Right?
I follow. Yeah.
Right? So I think it comes into discipline. It comes into grit, comes into mindset, and being consistent in that, because you can't. What happens if you take 2 weeks off? I know you. I know. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Take 2 weeks off. Mental, physical. Break that down for us. Mental, physical, and spiritual. If you took 2 weeks off, what would happen to you?
Oh, I call it day oneing it.
You'd go back to zero?
Oh, it's like you work so hard and you're so diligent with any of those things. It would be like not praying, right? And then like, hey, God, it's me. Like 2 weeks later,
right.
just
like
checking in. Atrophy or something. And,
right.
When it's the gym, one of the other reasons one of the many reasons I'm diligent is I don't want to day one it.
Ever.
Nope.
Sucks.
If you and I put in all this time and years, I don't want to and I lose it so fast. Like if I take even Saturday, Sunday, Monday could be a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I stay on the grind.
I know. So what if you didn't talk to Cookie for 2 weeks, period?
Oh man, that happened in 2021. Very short story. I ended up in the hospital, and that was like during the peak of COVID.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with COVID, but I had tubes all down my throat, and you couldn't have guests, and you couldn't have visitors.
I remember you telling me about that roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Are you ready to become the strongest version of yourself, Alpha Men? Meet Paul Watson, a military veteran. Paul knows the importance of physical fitness, mental and physical toughness, and the role it plays in one's overall health and well-being. That's why I'm proud to recommend Warrior Fitness, a fitness program designed to help you become the strongest version of yourself. Whether you're looking for elite military selection training, including endurance and strength training, group classes, individualized training, and personalized diet plan development, we're here to help you achieve your fitness goals. Our experienced trainers understand the value of hard work and perseverance, and they will work with you to push your limits and achieve new heights. Join our community of warriors and take on a new challenge that will help you to build strength, increase your endurance, and improve your overall health. With Warrior Fitness, you'll discover a new sense of discipline, resilience, and pride. Sign up today and let's take on the challenge together. Check them out at their Fresno location at 8039 North Cedar Avenue, Fresno, California, 93720, or on the web on Instagram and Facebook. Or if you want to just give them a call, go ahead, 559-242-2570. Stay alpha.
I did go 2 weeks, and my separation anxiety was crazy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Yeah, and that's interesting. And then, of course, what physically happened to you, obviously, because you were in the hospital.
Oh, I lost 25 pounds in 10 days.
So you went to ground zero.
It was all starting from day one.
Yeah. What would you say spiritually? What did that happen? What was the impact of that?
It's a great question. I appreciate you for asking it, because that was it was the best I'd ever been spiritually up to that point. And if I was going to punch my ticket out of here, as they wheeled me into the surgery room, like I was ready to go.
You were good.
Sign me up.
You were good. Isn't that funny? Because there's so much scripture that backs up that in our weakness, he's made strong in that moment. So one could say it is okay for me as a man, and it's foreign to us because it's not, if you're a man, if you're a masculine man, if you're an alpha male, surrender is not, it's not in your vocabulary, because surrender to us means we're giving up, right? Right?
For sure.
Right?
Except when it comes to God.
Exactly. That's the funny side of the coin is, though, when it comes to God, surrendering is what you should do as your first motive, your first decision-making process. But in the physical, it's the last one. Isn't that a trip? Because in society, giving up, you're not supposed to give up. You're a man, you're strong. You're supposed to endure, keep going, right? We've had this ingrained in us as children, right? I don't know about you, but I used to play flag football or touch football, and it was never flag; it was always touch. It was I should say it was more push. Is really what it was. It was no touch; it was always push. And you'd have, you'd be playing with either Nerf or a miniature size, pigskin. You'd have cars coming, to and from in the street, right? And then the parked cars you'd run into, right? And if you smashed into it. The first thing, and I did, my neighbors that I always played with, the older kids, because I was bigger, and I dented, and denting a steel car is hard to do. I mean, today's car would be nothing.
They're an old Oldsmobile Cutlass.
They do not give,
Nope.
Dude. None of those old cars give, and the thing is they tell you, dude, walk it off. I'm like, I may have a concussion, but I'm going to walk it off. Okay.
Rub some dirt on it.
Right. Rub some dirt on it. Just keep moving. But see, when you come to Christ, though, Christ says, listen, I know you're busted up. I know you're hurting. I know you want to give up. I know tomorrow doesn't look really all that promising. Even your in moment right now does not look that promising. And then us as men, we have to sit there and go, I surrender. I don't have it figured out, but I know you do. Dude, that's hard to do because of our pride. There's that pride word coming in, man. It's so hard, man. So when we're facing our wives and we're facing our children, for those of you who have children, and we're facing our coworkers, we're facing our community, our body of believers, whether you're pastor or whatever it is, whatever spiritual leader you are, and you want to just like throw it in the towel because there's many people that have done that. And I mean literally just check out. Life's beating them up. And they just have this sweet surrender about them. And they say, not everybody, but some. And they say, I give up. I'm done. I'm done doing it my way. So let me figure out how you do that, God. How do you do that? That's a tough process. That's a tough process. I don't know. What do you think about that?
On surrendering part?
Yeah.
I think it's liberating because you don't hold everything on your shoulders. And Jesus should be your best friend, and praying and asking for things it's awesome. So as far as I don't look at that as giving up or lacking internal strength or, you just hit it on the head. It goes back to pride.
Yeah.
Taking the pride and the ego out of the equation.
Some men listening to this today, I should say, have a very difficult time reconciling that. Is that if I admit that I am not good at something or carrying the load, that means I'm weak. I think, though, and I'm just going to cast this thought out here and see where it lands, but I think that by surrendering to Christ, it teaches us how to be stronger and be able to carry heavier loads for those around us, right? Within our wheelhouse, right? Because there's some things that we're not meant to carry. I'm not meant to carry your salvation. I'm not meant to carry your hope, your faith. I'm not meant to carry those things. I'm not meant to carry to find out if you believe in God or not. That's not my responsibility. It is my responsibility to say, do you know Jesus? Do you know about what he's done for you? That is my responsibility to do that. But it's not my responsibility to sit there and say, well, I don't know if you have or you haven't. I'm not meant to carry that load. That's his load. That's what he's going to take for me. So when it comes to coming back to embracing the suck and these mental challenges that we've been talking about, these physical challenges, to kind of sum all of this up, if you were sitting down in front of another man and he was asking you these questions, Joe, how do I get better in those aspects of spiritual, physical, and mental? What would that conversation look like with you and that other person, that other male?
Surround yourself with good people in each of those areas. You're with your pastor, your priest, with your, a good group of friends to help you like mentally, for the gym, finding a person or that can help you, right? And not thinking that, you're going to wander into the gym and lift all the weights or anything else, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody's got it all figured out, and you have people that are smarter and better that help coach you to where you need to be. So it's all the people that you put around you.
I think I agree with that 100% because I've done just that. Is what I've done is in my spiritual life, I have a very tight group of guys that are in my opinion, they're apex operators of my spiritual life.
That's awesome.
And then there's my apex operators in my physical and so on with my mental. I surround myself with those people that I've recognized are better and stronger than me in these areas. And it sharpens me. It makes me better. And I think a lot of guys are afraid to do that because of that pride. They just, dude, it's cancerous. It just eats us alive. I can go it on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I'm good. All right. Have fun with that. Tell me how that works out for you, because it wasn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's never worked for me when I've gone at it alone, ever. That's why I think Jesus says, he says a lot of things, but he says, I want friends is what I want. That's what I want. I don't want slaves. I want friends, right? He's really saying, I want a partnership and I want a relationship with this person, in this process. But I think in the other areas of life, I don't know about for you, and you can answer this in a second, is you do have to find those people in those mental and those physical aspects that will partner with you to make you better, to make you stronger. You're my workout partner. And Matt, who is I don't know if I've given him any props here verbally, but the show would not take place without him. And one of the things that I very, very quickly realized that I do not have at all the technical, the creative, the design ability to make this show happen. And so the first thing I said is I need to surround myself with that's an apex person in that field, right?
Well, he's a blessing.
Huge,
mm-hmm.
huge. And Awaken is what he's a part of, and that's what he's driving. And he's definitely one of those people that is driving this show to take place. So man, big shout out to him. But
shout out Matt.
Not shut up, shout out. But yeah, it's finding those groups of people, those small groups that really are going to put that blade to the stone, because that's a process. You don't just do 2 swipes and all of a sudden the knife's sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep at it, turn the blade over, come back. Whether you're working with dry stone, wet stone, it doesn't matter. You still have to have that process of grinding it out, right? Mm-hmm. And you grind it out spiritually, grind it out mentally, grind it out physically. So what do you say to that?
Well, and I would say actively looking for people in those different areas, like not just reading, for spiritual items, like not just reading a book, right? Finding
could be a start though.
Oh, for sure,
yeah.
It's a start, or a podcast, or what have you, or even movies. Like top movie in my book is The Passion.
Great movie.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me.
Okay,
but actively surround yourself with good people. Not just whoever might be in your immediate orbit.
Yeah,
go look for them.
Well, man, we've covered a lot here, and we made some good ground. I am going to say this is that it's been, as always, a great time. We're going to wrap it up here, but men, if you guys can, you ladies, if you're listening to as well, please like and subscribe on YouTube and the platform where you get your downloads, your podcasts, wherever you listen to this at. Go to the website if you guys can. If you've enjoyed the content, definitely make those donations to keep the show going. We appreciate your love. We appreciate your support and definitely your prayers. Always remember, stay alpha. Take care.